Hello guys, I hope you are doing alright. Today is a special video. But first of all, I have a question for you. Do you know what is the connection between the aerodynamic work realized by Jean Bugatti on the Bugatti 57 SC Atlantic and Martin Frei? We will see it and you will have the answer to that question. But first of all, let me invite Martin Frei. So, those kind of video is quite unique. We want to really create a bridge between you and the brand that we all love, and in order to really show you what is behind the watch. So, Martin, thanks a lot for being available for us. So, just to make sure that everyone is aware of what we are doing today, we will speak about maybe we can call it an OVNI, who is the UR112 aggregate back to black. Mm-hmm. I have a few questions for you. We really want to show to the people the untold stories that you and the team live during the creation and the production of that piece. Absolutely. So if it's all good for you, we will start with the first question, which is, can you tease us the journey you lived during the creation and the production of this watch, but by using 3 words?
Well, it's usually starting with a spark, with an initial spark, that somehow marks the beginning of this particular piece. But then it goes through many different alterations. And you can say, second word, you could say it's endurance. Okay. Because you have to go through many things, and maybe just then somehow the moment where we create it, birth, when it's here.
So it will be spark, birth, and endurance.
Yes, endurance in the middle, because that's the moment, you're kind of creating it, and then when it's there, it's born.
And do you remember the first time you had the idea of that watch?
Yeah, that's also absolutely. That's complex, because you have many ideas as we do it, collecting it everywhere. But I could trace it back to actually to once upon a time in Oman. We were in Oman, Felix and I, in Muscat, that is, and we were in the old harbor in the Corniche there, and invited to an event. But we stayed in an old, very beautiful hotel there in the old harbor, and had a view like out into the ocean, and with the old boats, these dhows, and so we did a little trip in the morning, a walk to the beach, and there was a kebab stand, an Omani kebab stand, and perfectly, like underneath of a shade. And so we would sit there, Felix and I, and we would be talking about things and so on. There was, behind us, there was a chicken grill.
Okay, what is the connection between this chicken grill and the UR112 aggregate back to black?
So you won't believe it, but that's how it works. With Urwerk, inspiration doesn't necessarily need to come from a incredible timepiece, from back in the old times. Sometimes it does.
Yeah.
But it can also come from some technical or mechanical thing that fascinates you. It can be maybe passing, in the subway, passing the subway stands, or if you look at some interestingly mechanical objects, or it can be. So in this case, it was in Oman. It was this chicken grill, and we were looking at it, Felix and I, waiting for our food. And we both were like, wow, actually, that's quite amazing how that thing works. And it was a mechanical revolving, as you know it, system that was quite interesting. And so we were marveling at it, waiting there for our food. And when the food came, we were sitting there, eating the food and continuing the talk. So the very first idea, mechanical idea, came from there, because we of course started talking about how we could use this mechanical trick, this mechanical revolving system, how we could use that to indicate time. So we kept that idea in mind, and many additional ideas came. I mean, these time displays at old time displays actually at airports, where you had these folding displays, this folding kind of like this waterfall of time, and the sound to it, So it's usually a whole it's coming together of different ideas that are collected along the way, and that can really be somehow, let's say, like once installed in your mind, you have this idea, and then you carry it with you, and you continue to talk about it, you bring it up again, and so that's definitely that was the spark of it, and on top of that, of course, many additional ideas began to somehow gather and take place.
About the other idea, who gives you more information or maybe nourish your creative mind, is the design of that Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic. The design that we can see on the watch is strongly related to that watch, to that car. But when we look at it, what inspires you about this car? It was only the design, or it was more than that?
Actually, originally it was our engineer Dominic Buser, who told me, that's quite a long time ago actually, he showed me a picture of this Bugatti Atlantic car, and he said, look at this, it's super cool how the car is actually bolted together in the center. And I had to agree, and that's a cool way to do it. And we were talking about the possibility to create a case like this, where you have the case, not somehow the bottom, the middle and the top, but you have it from sideways, and bolted together in the center, right, with the flange in the middle and so on. So we always had this idea to somehow create a case like this. And we did previously look at, created a watch who had a concept where we already played with it. And it's not easy to somehow do that. It has to be also exactly the right mechanism and time display that works together with this idea. So we had this idea stored. There was this idea of the Bugatti Atlantic. Even though the Bugatti Atlantic as a car was not that important, it was really the way somehow the chassis, the car was actually constructed. That was very interesting to us. And then later on, we had, of course, found out that Ralph Lauren has a car like this, and I saw, of course, the images of this beautiful car. It's an incredible piece, and also the Art Deco times when this car was made. It's very beautiful. It's black and silver, or black and steel, and it's just an amazing piece. And so with our watches, there's a bit of the idea of course of the construction in it, because it's bolted together in the center. So that's the main thing, and also a tiny bit of the Art Deco feel of that car. But it's not the round shapes. Actually, the case itself is then again has other inspirations. The way it's etched, it is also somehow an idea or a case style that we follow, starting with the CC1 Cobra watch, and then the 111. It's this kind of case that somehow sits on your wrist. It's like a two edges like this. Sits on your wrist. Has it's a more complex shape. So there's many ideas coming together there.
What is really interesting with your creativity, there is not only one source of inspiration. And you said a sentence who is very important to really understand how your brain works and how you gave birth to all those ideas. When I ask you about the car, you haven't said, okay, yes, the design was interesting and it is directly linked to the creation, to our creation. What you said is it was the idea behind the car who helps you with the chicken grill, with all the ideas that you had in mind that all came together and helps you to, as you say, after a long time, helps you to draw and really imagine what the UR 112 aggregate back to black is today.
Absolutely.
You are more like you are idea hunter.
It's about the concepts. You know, it's about the concept that you understand behind a technical or a mechanical solution, let's say, or also behind the solution of a casing. It's interesting because of an engineering point. You know, interesting how that's put together, and it's not necessarily the look. You know, so it's more the engineering part of it that is at the base, because you have different solutions for how to create a case. You can do that in different ways, and so it's interesting to look for solutions there. But it's also, of course, interesting to look for mechanical. Interesting mechanical solutions, you know, in other machines, you know, wherever you meet them. So you collect like fascinating solutions and you store them in a pot of ideas. And when it's about creating a watch, that's where you take the ideas from that pot where you had gathered all these different concepts and ideas. And the shape comes along with it. You know, it's kind of like something that fits in the so that's also concept, but then I would say if it's about creating the actual shape of it, this is a very intuitive work where I astonishingly know exactly how I want it. It's very clear to me, and when it's about creating it, I'm glad that the engineers offer something. And it's a ping pong, but I know exactly how I don't want it, you know, and I know how it should go, which curve it should take. So I have for my mind, I usually don't struggle to find the curve that it needs. But of course, the rest of it is a longer process where you have a ping pong between the engineers, like let's say the technical people and me.
Yeah.
So
and something who is really interesting about that piece is maybe, yes, the look, but the aerodynamics work who has been done, the shape. I've been able to wear it just for a few minutes. It's not a tiny baby. When you have on your wrist, you know that you have on your wrist. It's not an heavy watch, but the work you've done on that watch in terms of design allows you to forget the watch very easily. So it's only in that case when we can see for outside people from the brands if the design work has been done properly or great. And I've been very astonished, because yes, it's a big baby on the wrist, but you can very easily forget about it and just continue your day. And only by just moving your arm, you are able to see it. So on that point, on that particular point, I would like to thank you for the work and also to the team, because you found the right balance between something impressive that you have on the wrist and something that you can easily forget and continue your day?
No, it's extremely important actually that one should never forget. We create an object that, of course, is I'd say an expression of your individualism. It's like you know, we created it with the eyes of the artist and the engineer, but after all, it has to be able to be worn, you know, on your wrist. It has to tell the time, and so these things are important to keep in mind. So there were a few things that I wanted to grant with it. That is to be able to see the indication from all sides. So you have this mechanical marble inside of the tubes, these glass tubes, and when you open the case, you can actually look at this at the mechanical, at the indication from all sides. And still, it has to be a watch that somehow keeps all these elements together. So in this sense, the top of the watch is extremely important, because if you wouldn't have that, it would somehow fall apart. So the top that you can open, and still you have a chance to see all the details, you know, from all sides, but to function as a watch and to be kind of like a solid body, it's important that you have the top. But now with the 112 black, back to black, we have a grille on top, so to say, like a skeletonized roof, and so this gives you even it allows more of a you know, a peek into the case, and it reveals just as much that you are curious to find out more. And so we had to add this just to somehow tease you a bit more to look inside, and it still works as a full body, even though it's now skeletonized. So this is interesting for me to see how far can you go with like opening. With opening up the case. This is an old theme that we pursue with Urwerk to open up the case and reveal how the machine looks, you know. And you have to. This is kind of like an interesting ballet where you have to find out how much can you somehow show. It's almost a bit it's like in fashion. Let's put it like this, where you show a bit more, you know, or a bit less. And this is like an ongoing fascinating game. But there's a few of these things that you have to consider creating it or designing it.
And by skeletonizing the top, is it directly related to the chicken grill?
That not at all. No, that's not. That has nothing to do with it. But no. The grill aspect of it is really just the mechanical functioning of the time display, and you have of course there the reason that the chicken are somehow cooked perfectly from all sides, and that is used now here for the hours and for the minutes. So they are actually exactly at the right place, but just the other way around, actually away from the center, but towards you. So you have the opposite effect. You actually have the hours looking towards you, and they are perfectly, facing you instead of being grilled in the inside. You know, the kind of you grill it with your eyes, so to say, when you read the time.
That's so true. And you already told us about the complexity of the creation and production process, and you shared to us information about the case design and the way you really wanted it. But I have another question for you, which is which part took you the most work to design and why?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really the case here, as I already mentioned. It's quite complex. It has more than one ebene, how to say, one layer in a way. So you have this layer, then you have this layer, and it's kind of like sitting on your wrist like this. So you have a very complex surface. I saw that originally this idea in a watch designed by Ventura back in the day, that is actually, at the very beginning when we started with Urwerk, there was this company called Ventura. They created some interesting watches. He was an architect, Hannes Wettstein, who did create watches there. And I've seen this idea that you could, that you could have a watch sitting on your wrist, like with like fitting to your wrist like this. And I liked it, and I tried it for the first time with the CC1. Also inspiring there was that you have this, like an idea from architecture with the Villa Malaparte, where you have a building sitting on a rock in the ocean, in the sea, and it's kind of really like fitted onto the rock, and it's like a stairways where you can go walk on top of the house. And so if you look into the CC1, you see that there's a kind of a stairways that goes on top of the top niveau. So in a bit, it's like a little architectural model.
Yeah.
But at the same time, of course, it's also perfectly fitting your wrist, because it sits like a building on your wrist.
And so, how do you do that? How do you manage to fitting it on each wrist? Because mine is not yours. How do you do that? What is the magic trick?
Well, we actually, it's a very fair question, because it's something that you have to find out. Normally, with traditional watches, or most watches, you'd say you have locks that somehow extrude, and they help you to feel more comfortable, to feel, with the wrist, with the watch sitting on your wrist. It's kind of like a transition from the case into the strap, let's say.
Yeah.
And with our watches, it's something that I didn't like a lot. In our first watches we had locks, but then later on I tried to somehow avoid it, just to have somehow the case, and that the case is kind of like sitting on your wrist, and the strap somehow comes right out of the case without locks.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then it's quite tricky, because you have to really place the case on your wrist well. And we had to a bit find out about this. And as you say, not all the wrists are the same, alike.
Yeah.
And you tend to somehow take your own wrist, as the model for it, or like you take somehow, you look at the proportions and you imagine the watch on your own wrist in a way. But we in time we somehow figured out what the perfect dimensions are, and we learned how to do it. So we can do now both. We can do the locks and the not locks. It's all good. It's all possible.
Can you reveal what are the perfect dimension for the perfect legs, or the perfect, or is it still a secret that you want to keep for your eyes?
I think everybody who's creating watches, they somehow have to find out about this, but they can also just read in the books, and do it the way the others do it. As I said, because we didn't have locks, we had to somehow find out ourselves.
Yeah.
But now we know it about how we have to do that with the watch without locks. I won't, of course, tell you the numbers, but it's no, but it's simple. In a way, you can say that the watch has to be able to sit on your wrist, like this, and the strap has to go down on both sides. If it's a bit more like this, or a bit straighter, that's fine. But it's just it's due to that, and of course, it's also depending on the weight of the watch. If you have a heavier watch, then the chance that it's somehow not sitting stable on your wrist is higher, of course. So you have to just consider these things.
Yeah. I have another question for you, who is not the typical question that you are used to, but if we give a soul to the watch, and the watch is comes to life, and it's a person. which person would it be? I don't know. Is it a Superman or Iron Man, or it's a designer, crazy designer, or is it even Jean Bugatti, or maybe someone else? Do you have like an idea?
Yeah, I think it's really the curious mind, you know. That's what it is. It's an explorer person, you know. And I think that's what we also somehow ask from our Urwerk fans, you know. They're open-minded. They like to somehow, you know, go further, you know, find out what else is possible. Because in the watch world, many things are already done, and it's in our mind or in our point of view, it's more interesting and challenging to create something that didn't exist already and find a new take on things. You know, so that's so it's really that mind who wants to see the terra incognita. You know, the undiscovered place.
Exactly. So the UR 112 aggregate back to black would be a modern or futuristic adventurer.
Yes, indeed.
Exactly. So this interview goes to arrive to its end, but we have to speak about the future. Can you give us 3 words that describe what is coming next? You will see.
Exactly. That's perfectly matching, in fact. No, but I mean, of course, with Urwerk, we have to somehow think about what's coming in the future already. So we, in this sense, but that doesn't mean that we are in the future. We are just now.
Yeah.
we are creating now, and then when it's ready, you will see it. So we are actually busy creating this that you will see in the future.
Exactly. So Martin, I would like to thank you a lot for your time, all the explanation and all the untold stories that you gave us today. It was a real pleasure for me. It's a format that we will continue for the people who really want to create a bridge between you guys, the people who are creating those crazy watches, and the watch fan, all the collectors, all your clients, all the passionate people who really want to create that bridge between you and them. So, and Torbjörn Watch will be the medium between all of you. Again, thanks a lot for your time, and see you very soon for another episode about, I hope, another great project that you will reveal to us. Martin,
pleasure. Thanks
a lot. See you soon. Bye-bye. Guys, I hope you enjoy it. It was a real pleasure for me to introduce you to Martin and his creativity and what he's doing with Urwerk. So, guys, if you enjoy it, let us know in the comments, and I see you very, very soon for another video.